Hey guys, just want to share a game that I played earlier on with my buddy Jason, who challenged me to a rapid game. So we managed to get a game going, and we'll just go through it. There's a few neat tactics in there that you might enjoy. So he starts with e4 and I'm playing the Black Lion. And it's interesting, if you also watch the clocks on this, what's interesting about this opening for me is that my regular moves that I would make, maybe not even 50% of the time, but fairly often, actually runs 14 moves deep. Okay, so we have e4, d6, and then knight to f6. So I'm going to bring my knights out here. This knight is blocking the queen in case this pawn and this pawn go. I don't want to exchange queens. So now he plays d4 and I play e5. Right, so this is a 15 plus 10 game, so every time I move I get 10 seconds. And, well, both of us. Now the bishop comes out, bishop to e7, this is all standard stuff. Now I play a slightly different move order. Normally with the Black Lion it's c6, queen c7, but I just wanted to take this square away from the knight. I didn't want him to bring the knight in here. Although I have moved my bishop to there, so I could actually castle if he brought his knight in, which would be alright. But I decided to do it that way. And then now it looks as though he may have ideas of castling long, which I don't want. I want his king on the king side. I'm going to attack on the king side and probably not even castle at all. Do castle sometimes. So I thought, well, maybe pushing a6 might discourage him from castling queen side if I'm just hinting that I'm going to start a pawn storm up there. And then he replies with a5, so it looks as though the plan might be working. So he's doing that to stop b5, decent move. If I play b5 and he took, I can't recapture because rook takes rook. So it looks as though my plan's worked to stop him from going queenside. So now I play c6, now he pushes a pawn, and queen to c7, and now he pushes h3. So this knight now, so basically the move order from here is to play g5, then the knight comes round to f8, g6 behind the pawn, and then to here. Then what you're hoping for is that bishop takes knight, and then pawn, which is on g5, takes the bishop. And then we've got a lovely semi-open file there for the rook to go up. That's the plan. So now I play g5, and now we have the exchange of pawns in the middle of the board. Doesn't change too much. You notice now my queen is here, it's defending this pawn, which is attacked once, right? So I've actually got two defenders, and that means that this knight can now start its wander around the board. Okay, rook comes up to double up with the queen. That's not any trouble because these squares are covered by bishops. I've also got two knights looking at that part of the board, so my knight carries on round, and now he plays g3. So I'm guessing that he's seen this before and that he wants to stop knight to f4, which he does. However, in the process, he's undefended the pawn on h3 that he pushed earlier on. So queen comes across now to e2. So I was thinking this knight was actually previously undefended, if you look on there. So I was thinking anyway about dropping my bishop here and pinning the knight against the rook. Now what Jason plays is queen to e2. So now when I put my bishop there, the knight's pinned against the queen and the rook. We actually end up with a very similar pattern to this, but the other way around later on. My queen ends up pinned for a while. Okay, so the king comes up now to support the knight. And now I start to push pawns. h4, I'm not worried that this pawn is hanging because the knight can't take. That would leave the queen on prise. He maybe is looking at doubling up his rooks now on the open file. So I just plug that by playing bishop to d6 and fail to see that there's actually another piece looking at this hanging pawn. So not too bad. And now I pin my own queen. Okay, so the issue is this knight is undefended. So maybe what I should have done is move the knight away. Could have gone there, even to there, would have been all right. This, in retrospect, was probably an error because my queen ended up staying pinned by that bishop for, like we say, some time. So the queen moves back to e1, and now I castle. So, nice thing about castling long, I've put my rook straight onto this open d file. Pushes a pawn, and I now bring my bishop in with another pin on knight, rook, and queen. We exchange rooks, rook comes there, we exchange more pieces, and now I grab the bishop. So if you look at this, what this tactic is known as the overworked defender. Right, so basically, because I can capture that, right? This queen is the only defender of that rook, and it's the only defender of that knight. Okay, so if I capture the rook, queen can't recapture my rook because white will drop the knight. But likewise, the knight can't capture the rook because that would end up dropping the queen. So it's a horrible situation. It is a mistake, and you acknowledge that in the game. So queen recaptures. Now I'm a full minor piece up. So I've got 2 knights against my opponent's 1. However, I haven't really got much of a queen at the moment because how do I get out of this pin? If my queen moves away, bishop takes knight. If knight moves anywhere, bishop takes queen. Similar kind of bind. So this is becoming a problem, and also I can't move my queen to there to get out of the line of that bishop and defend the knight because he's got another bishop there. Likewise, I can't put my queen there and defend the knight because of his blooming queen. So what am I going to do with this queen? So he comes back to attack my bishop. And at this point, I think this was a mistake or even a blunder, according to the computer. So I decided to capture his knight. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to see if I can find a way to get his king within range of my knight. So if my knight goes to here or here, for example, I'd be looking at these squares. Any of those would be fine. So basically a dark square. So because my knight's on a dark square now, if it jumps once, it has to go to a light coloured square, and then all the squares that it would be looking at from the light coloured square are always going to be a dark colour, because knights have to alternate colours every time they move. So yeah, according to the computer, this was an error, but it worked out all right. So now I save my bishop, and we have pawn down to there. Now I drop my bishop all the way back to a7. Now there is a tactic that I realised after this that I could have implemented right now. So there's a pawn push now, and I push h4. Jason then pushes g4. I think actually here the pawn could have taken my pawn quite easily. I think it was a mistake on my part, but maybe he was overestimating my thought process, because I mean I'm 300 points higher rated. This is an unrated game, so we've got nothing to win or lose other than pride. But anyway, he pushes that pawn, and now I see this tactic. Okay, so this is how I want to free up my queen. So can you see how this works? Okay, so my bishop has come out of its hiding place and grabbed the pawn on f2. Okay, so one way to break a pin is to move one of the pieces out if it comes with check. And then, because check is a forcing move, your opponent has to respond to the check, and that can then maybe give you a tempo, a spare move, to get your other piece out. So here the king grabs the bishop, knight captures pawn, okay, with check. This is crucial. It comes with check. So white doesn't have time to capture my queen. Now wherever the king goes, I can now play queen takes bishop, and that's actually what I should have done. I should have just captured the bishop on this move, and I'd have actually won 2 pawns in that move and would be well up. But I decided to be clever and throw in a fork on the king and the queen, but I played it so quickly, which is a crime when you've got 14 minutes 49 seconds still still on your clock. Played it too quickly, and the bishop could grab the knight. I recapture with a pawn, but it leaves me only 2 pawns in front rather than a whole piece and 2 pawns, so which is how it should have been. Now we have a king fork, so the king attacking the pawn and the knight. But can you see the blunder here in this move? It's a fairly simple tactic. Knight to e5 with a fork on both the king and the queen. So whatever happens now, the queen's going to fall and I'll be left with the queen on the board. So at that point my opponent resigns. He's got like less than 1 minute 20 left on the clock. But yeah, some interesting little tactics for you. I'm still very, very busy producing what I hope will be the ultimate course for tactics for beginners and improving players. So it's always fun to spot these out in the wild and to be able to use them. But I think for me, my favourite move in the game was really this, being able to see this sequence: bishop takes, and then if king takes, to get out of the pin with check. It would have been even better if I played the correct move and just captured the bishop there. But yeah, loads of good fun. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed playing it. Thank you to my opponent Jason, and I'm sure we'll have lots more games like this coming up very soon. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to Chess Bootcamp so that you can keep up on the latest videos as they come out. Other than that, thanks again. See you soon.